Autophagy and Shinto shrines. That's something I'm going to talk about today, so stick around. Hi, my name is Sachiaki Takamiya. I am the author of the Ikigai diet and Ikigai biohacking. Right. Okay, so about 2 videos ago I talked about biohacko versus biohacking, and biohacko means biofermentation, and how our biohacking is more like a natural process of fermentation, right? So today I'd like to talk about something similar, or kind of sort of connecting to that video. The beginning of the Ikigai biohacking, I introduced Dr. Tamotsu Yoshimori, who is the author of Life Science, right? So this is a Japanese bestseller book. Yeah, so Tamotsu Yoshimori is a professor at Osaka University, and he's a cell biologist, but he was a co-researcher. He was one of the co-researchers of Dr. Yoshinori Ohsumi, who was the 2016 Nobel Prize winner in physiology or medicine by discovering the mechanism of autophagy, right? So in many ways, autophagy was kind of discovered by Dr. Yoshinori Ohsumi, or it was, the function was, kind of recognized by his discovery, really, yeah. And then, so Tamotsu Yoshimori was in the same laboratory, working together. Yeah, right. So he actually went to the Nobel Prize award ceremony in Norway when that happened too, right? Okay, so unfortunately, some of the Japanese research were kind of pioneering research in the field of autophagy, and not so much known in other countries. Even Yoshinori Ohsumi, I mean, he's in a few videos, but not many, partly because he's not so vocal. He's very sort of quiet, kind of a very serious researcher. He's not really into like promoting, his views and stuff like so much stuff. Tamotsu Yoshimori is a little more vocal in Japan. Therefore, he has published several books. He's also published a book called Autophagy, like Seimei o Mamoru Shikumi, Autophagy, which means autophagy, a mechanism to protect our life. Yeah. Yet, because they don't speak English, right? So compared to some English-speaking researchers, their works are not so known in other countries. So I feel this is my role to share some of the, the ideas to other people too, right? And then what is interesting about this book and Tamotsu Yoshimori's research is, so when he describes autophagy, he talks about Parthenon and Ise Shrine. So he kind of compares Parthenon and Ise Shrine. Parthenon, the Greek ancient monument in Athens, yeah? And then Ise Shrine is the main Shinto shrine in Japan. It is the headquarters of all Shinto shrines in Japan. It's the biggest and the main, the most, like significant Shinto shrine in Japan. Yeah. And then, so he kind of compares the building of the two. So both of them are very old, over 1,500 years old. Yeah. Yet, so Parthenon is a kind of stone structure built by stone, and it's therefore it's very old, right? Yeah, and because you try to kind of keep the stone structure for such a long time, yeah, and everything becomes old, right? Yeah, and then but Ise Shrine looks very new, yeah. How come? Yeah, because there is a system called Shikinen senguu in Japan. Shikinen senguu is a kind of a system that Shinto shrines apply, that every 20 years they rebuild the same building next to it. So you have a kind of space right next to the shrine, and then every 20 years you build the same building from scratch, and then you demolish the old one to replace the new one. Yeah. So Tamotsu Yoshimori says that's how autophagy works. So a cell dies and then it is regenerated into a new cell. So it's almost like a death and rebirth, death and rebirth. This cycle of death and rebirth apply in the function of autophagy as well. Yeah, and that was very fascinating to me because many things in our life, many things in the natural kingdom have this cycle of death and rebirth, right? Most animals, yeah, die, eventually at some point die, but they pass the life or I don't know, gene or something to the next generations, the offsprings, right? So your kind of, I don't know, soul or energy don't die completely. It's sort of passed down to the next generations. Yeah, that's how the nature works, right? And when you do gardening, I mean, I do, natural gardening, yeah, and you observe a lot of things in the natural kingdom, and the same cycle is everywhere. Yeah. For example, weeds and insects. Yeah. When they die, yeah, the microorganism break them down, and then they become fertilizers for the soil, right? And then that give life to new plants. Yeah. And then we humans, or maybe animals too, eat the plants. Yeah. And then once they're eaten, they are broken down by microbes in our organs, yeah, and then they become, part of our, I don't know, cells and blood and all kind of thing. And then the leftovers, yeah, the leftover becomes feces, yeah, and then they too become compost and become fertilizers for the soil, right? And then that in turn gives life to new plants and so on. So we are constantly in this cycle of death and rebirth, or a life is kind of passed one to next. Yeah, if it's not continuing your body or this one particular solid structure, it is passed down to another form. Right now, so when I think about this natural rhythm or the kind of the way things happen in the natural kingdom, I have a different perception about immortality or biohacking in general, because a lot of people want to become immortal, or at least they want to extend their lifespan to live to 150 or 200 years old, which is okay. I mean, I'm not really against the idea of immortality or extending your lifespan, but depending on where your initial concept comes from, does it come from fear? Because it sounds like you are afraid of dying. You're kind of holding on to life or holding on to your body. It's almost like you're attached to the body, or you're obsessed with your body. So there's a kind of feeling of attachment and obsession and holding on to something, which is not a positive thing, right? Because it's based on fear of losing, right? But if you can release the fear and accept death, yeah, by just accept the fact that it is a natural cycle and we all get old eventually, and aging is natural. It's not something to be afraid or something to, fight against, right? And then by releasing our control, we gain our freedom, because it comes from love, comes from the love of nature, love of every being, and even the understanding impermanent. It's a Buddhist concept, but impermanent, but understanding impermanent, accepting impermanent. Things change, and accept change. And then when you start accepting the change, you are in the flow. You're not trying to hold on to become rigid, but you are free because you can move, you can be flexible. And in this way, you can stay young and stay healthy for a long time, as long as it is necessary, as long as it is natural for you. Yeah, whatever the life mission you have, whatever ikigai you have, yeah, to accomplish your life mission, you have enough lifespan to carry on, and you have enough health, enough well-being to keep going, right? But the being in the flow is the critical, and this is the mindset of the centenarians, because they don't try to extend their lifespan. They ended up living long, not they they try to live long. They just were happy, and they were just enjoying their life and just living, living with full heart without having fear, with a kind of joy and acceptance. And then they ended up staying healthy. So that's the mentality we want. You don't want to become too obsessed with your body and sort of life extension and immortality and so on. Just accept the natural cycle and you'll be free. Yeah, and your body will definitely be healthy because you have this relaxed kind of mindset, but your soul will be even freer. All right, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Again, my name is Sachiaki Takamiya. I am the author of the Ikigai Diet and Ikigai Biohacking. Now, if you want to know this concept of staying healthy by accepting your death and natural cycle, and about Ikigai biohacking, or what I call Shizenha biohacking, which means naturalist biohacking, please read Ikigai biohacking. And if you like this video, please give me your thumb up and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next video. Live with your Ikigai.